now is I'm an attorney in Little Rock. I grew up, I went to Little Rock Central High School. I graduated from there and went to Fayetteville for my undergraduate degree. And then I went to the Bowen School of Law here in Little Rock. Law school is about 3 years. And however, it wasn't until college that I really made a decision to go to law school. At the time, I was involved, when I was in college, I was involved with the military, and I thought that I was going to go into the military. However, I got medically disqualified from the position that I actually wanted. However, I'd already taken an LSAT prep course, LSAT being the entrance exam for law school. I'd already taken a prep class for the LSAT, and I decided to pursue that and follow through with that and take the actual LSAT test. I did well in that and got accepted into both the Fayetteville Law School and the UALR Law School, and I chose to go to UALR for a number of reasons. One, my family lives here in Little Rock, which is a huge bonus for me. Also, my mom lived here, and I was able to live with here for a short period of time until I could get a job while in school and pay for rent and things on my own. It lessened the amount of loans I had to take out, which was really, really nice because I'm paying them back now. So I was able to do that. I also had more contacts here in Little Rock, family, friends, people from church, parents of childhood friends. It was just a better connection for me. And lastly, because there were more opportunities here in Little Rock than there would be in Northwest Arkansas. So all that combined made the decision real easy for me that I did want to go to law school here in Little Rock. Why I wanted to go to law school, it's just something that I've always been interested in, and I enjoy arguments, I enjoy talking to people, and I'm comfortable in front of a crowd, I'm comfortable under pressure, I like thinking on my feet, I think it's a fun job, and I enjoy being out of the office and in the courtroom whenever I get the chance. Law school provided that opportunity, however, law school is nothing like the real world and practicing law in the real world. Classes were tough in law school, especially your first semester. You work all semester and your grade is only based on the tests at the end of the semester. I know people in college are familiar with that with some of their courses. However, usually in college you've got 2 or 3 tests and you've got some homework assignments, but in law school, more than a few classes were just based on that one test grade. It was difficult, especially when you don't get your grades back for a month after you take the test. We start our second semester before we even find out our grades from our first semester. But once you make it through that first semester, it's easier. You cope with the pressure. You can deal with the pressure. You understand what teachers are looking for. You understand what it is that you're supposed to do and how you're supposed to analyze different issues. So it's a lot easier after you finish that first semester. However, once you start your second year, it's a lot busier. Once we start our second year, we're able to start working. And I took advantage of that. And starting my second year, I worked the rest of my way through law school. So taking not quite 15 hours, but picking up extra hours in the summer to cover for my lighter load in the spring and the fall and the spring. So that way I could work. And working was an experience, especially while being in school. You do the best you can to strike a balance between both, but really trying to put an emphasis on work, because it was through your jobs that you were going to make connections, through your jobs you were going to get experience, and through your jobs that you were going to be exposed more to what it's like to truly be an attorney. Whereas law school was good for academia and learning basic concepts, there's so much more to the legal field than just law school. So I worked through my second year, I worked through my third year, and in my third year I actually got to be in court working in front of a judge. And it was there that I was able to meet the judge and become friends with him. And then after I completed law school and took my bar examination, the judge hired me to come work for him. So I worked for the judge for about a year now, and it was through my experience with the judge that I met other attorneys at the prosecuting attorney's office, and when there was a spot available there, I got hired on at the prosecuting attorney's office. Um, so that's my experience with work, and that's my experience with work through law school. But school was still more interesting than that. I know I kind of made it sound like it wasn't, that it was just academia. But, the academia is a great part of law school, and mostly because it teaches you how to understand real world events through a legal lens. You look at what's going on around you, and you become more aware of the issues and the circumstances around you. I learned so much more about this city, the city of Little Rock, through law school and through studying cases and through learning more about the law. I got to know this city a lot better in that I learned that everything kind of comes through the law in order for anything to happen. My mom signs and interprets at the Little Rock City Council, and more than a few of those individuals are also attorneys. The issues they are putting forth, the ordinances, all have a legal application and a legal consequence for many of the residents of Little Rock and for Pulaski County. So through law school, I started to recognize the reach of what the law is and what I can do. But what I've learned most of all, that it's your experience that really is your best asset. Your experience in what you've seen and what you've done and what you've argued. And the whole reason that you do that and that you learn in school and that you apply that is to help the people involved. The law is more about community and more about people than I ever realized. It affects everybody's lives, and it's really beneficial. And it can make the difference between going to jail or not going to jail, getting a home or not getting a home, receiving benefits that help pay for your family or not receiving those benefits. And every day that goes by, I see how it affects people's lives in good ways and in bad ways. Most people would probably be more familiar with the law through marriages and having to obtain a legal marriage license, and then in some instances going through divorces. Also planning wills and setting up trusts for your children, or making sure that the money you have goes to your children in a tax beneficial way so that it's taxed the least amount as possible. Even if these are things that you haven't considered in your life, these are things that will affect your life in a very serious way at some point. So these are all considerations that go through every American, every Arkansan, and every person that lives in Little Rock. And it all comes back through the law. So it's a very interesting process, and much like interpreting, the law is all about communication. What to say, how to convey it, so that making sure that the person understands what you have conveyed and that they understand what you've said. And it's about giving a true interpretation of what the law is saying. You're trying to interpret a statute or a ruling so that somebody else understands it. And to me, I think that's very similar to what sign language interpreters or any language interpreters also do. So, the law has a wide application to a lot of different things, and it involves a lot of different people's personal lives, things that are very personal, things that are very public. But one thing that I like about it is that I like being around people. So it gives me an opportunity to meet a lot of people and to learn more about their lives and be able to play a role in their lives. So it's really a great thing for me, and especially with the job that I've just recently have received and that I start on Monday, is that I will be a prosecutor. And of course that will allow me to play a role in lots of people's lives. I'm sure the defendants would say in a very negative way, but I believe that the victims and the citizens of Pulaski County, I believe they would think that it's in a very positive way to protect them, to punish those individuals that have done something wrong. Not to punish just to punish, but to punish in a fair manner, and something that's reasonable and that is deserving of the crime that is committed. So that's great, and I'm very happy to be a part of people's lives. I'm also happy that there are always two sides to every legal issue. I enjoy that. I enjoy the adversarial process. I believe it gives everybody an opportunity to put their story forward and to show how it affects their lives and to let us know how they're affected. So the legal community in a criminal matter is more than just let's put people behind bars. There's a lot more to it. They want to know how it affects the community. Can we put somebody on probation where you make them abide by the court's orders or circumstances or conditions? Is that appropriate? If we put somebody on probation, will they be able to complete probation without violating the terms of their probation? So that's interesting. So it's not just about putting people away. It's about what's appropriate for them. Is jail time appropriate for them? Is prison time appropriate for them? When they're in prison, will they be able to take classes? When will they be able to be out, get out of prison? When they get out of prison, do they have a family that they can go back to? Do they have relatives here in town? Do they not have relatives? Do they have a way to make a living? Should their record be expunged so that they can get hired and make a living? These are all things that are of concern, and at the same time protecting the rights of the victims as well. So there's a lot to every issue, and that's just focusing on criminal law. There's a lot to every issue that two sides can vet out and hopefully come to an agreement. If they can't, then we take it to a trial. And that goes for civil matters as well as criminal matters. But the whole idea of the law is to come to an agreement that will work best for three different groups of people. The two people on either side, and then society and the community as a whole. And that's really what we're trying to do, is resolve conflicts. And that's what I enjoy, because at the end of the day, if you can resolve a conflict without it blowing out of proportion, then you've done a good thing. And as an attorney, you can be not an unbiased party, but you can be a level-headed party that understands what's going on. It does not get moved by emotion, does not get moved by the prejudice or pride of one side or another. So we come in, we act as arbitrators, and if we need to, we try the case. So our profession is here for you, it's here for the citizens, and I enjoy being a part of something like that. And so hopefully you won't see me as a prosecutor. That would be a bad thing, but I do hope to see you out in the community as I get involved in the community and as you as an interpreter. So thank you very much for your time.